Stuart,
Yes,
um, your book, uh, your book titled "Madness Falling from the Sky," sounds like a description of what's happening right now. Do we get a deeper understanding of these times by going inside us?
of course, of course. Uh, the book Madness Falling from the Sky was written from a period of my life in the 1960s during the Vietnam War. And there are lots of stuff in there about these young people having to deal with kind of situation that's now going on in the Middle East and the Ukraine and all of that stuff. Um, but it's through, look, how do you understand what's not understandable? I mean, you have to come to terms with it in yourself. You have to understand what's real in life and what just perpetuates the madness, the illusion, the dream, that part of the world which just does nothing but make people suffer. And in order to find the answer to that, you have to go really deep inside yourself. You have to live with an open heart. You have to be able to see the world not through your mind, but through your heart, so that you can see, what absolutely is in real inside other human beings. So yes, I mean, the book I wrote was basically kind of very autobiographical, my life in the '60s. But it's about three young people who grew up together in the Bronx, and and in the book they're living on the Lower East Side of Manhattan during the 1960s. But they're confronted with the same kind of situations. What is my life about? What is real? How should I project what I want to do in life? It's the same kind of things that go on today with not only young people, but just about everybody. So, yeah, I mean, and I discovered, look, before I even met Rudy, I knew the answer wasn't an illusion. The answer wasn't in Maya. It wasn't in the objective world. And no matter how much I used to protest and march, and there was always something inside me say, this is not the answer. The answer is, Stuart, can you find connection with God inside yourself, with spirit? Can you live with an open heart? Can you live with love? Can you transform the unhappiness and the suffering inside yourself, into a spiritual life? And I discovered through what I learned from Rudy how to do it. I was not going to fix the world. I gave that up 30 years ago, but I can fix myself. And if people would simply make that kind of commitment to fix what can be fixed, the world would change. But God bless, there are 8 billion people in the world, and it's going to take a lot of incarnations for people to be able to make those kinds of commitments. But you and myself and anyone else who wants to can learn how to do it. And what's the answer? What's the answer in the Middle East? Forgiveness. They just stop for a second and say, hey, this goes nowhere. All this does is kill people. I mean, the Hamas, what they did was an act of suicide because they knew what was going to come back. It was an act of suicide. So finally, the internal life of people has to say, what works? Love works. Forgiveness works. Listening to other people, respecting their belief systems, letting them be, that works. So yeah, the mad, like look, the title Madness Falling, I didn't make that sentence up. When I was a young man, I lived in Paris, and I used to occasionally do a poetry reading at a bookstore called Shakespeare and Company in Paris, run by an American. It was run by Americans, still there, being run by Americans. And one day, while browsing through the bookstore, I found a collection of poems by Rabindranath Tagore, a very great Indian poet, 20th century poet, and considered to be a saint in India. And I opened the book and I came to a line, madness falling from the sky. And I thought it was extraordinary. And I never forgot that line. And when I wrote the book, oh, yeah, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe more, I don't know. I remembered that line. I said, that's the title for the book. So I attributed to Rabindranath Tagore the title to the book, who was an artist, a poet, and also they considered him to be a saint in India, very important person in India. But it's what's going on. It's madness falling from the sky. And it's rockets and bombs, and yet a part of the world that God has created, madness falling from the sky, that we all have to learn how to transform into love, to forgiveness. It's the only way to change it. And nobody can do that unless they do it inside themselves. That's the place one has to begin. Because I learned years ago that whatever I see outside in the world is a reflection of myself. Even war. In every human being, there are wars that go on, battles that we have, and it reflects in the world. So people have to make that effort to change. When they say in the Bible, also in the Bhagavad Gita, many are born and few are chosen. Everybody comes here with the opportunity to do this. Very few people in every generation really do it. But it is madness. That's what it is.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And it's not religion. It's not, everybody's belief system should be respected, whatever it is. I've had lots of Muslims in my life. And I've always told you the story. I think I've told it before. I went to a brunch once in the house of a business partner of mine in India. He's a Muslim. Whole family is Muslim. And I walked into the door, and I'll never forget it as long as there were 5 guys standing in the bedroom, in the living room there. They all looked like Osama bin Laden, with the beards and the hats and the dress that they wore. And I thought to myself, I started to chuckle. I said, here I am, a Jewish guy from the Bronx in the midst of all. And they could not have treated me nicer. They kept asking me questions about what I teach and, what they could learn from it. It was extraordinary. And then when we sat down to have dinner, they kept putting the best pieces of whatever it was, chicken or fish on the, everybody was sitting around a big platter and you ate with your hands, and they kept putting the best pieces in the platter in front of me. They have a thing. It's extraordinary. Guest is God, and you treat a guest that way. We in America have to learn that, how to treat people. And I've lived in Muslim countries, There was always something amazing about learning from those people. I've spent a lot of time in Israel, and it's amazing too what I've learned there. Jerusalem is one of the most extraordinary cities in the world, the most beautiful place in the world. Powerful, it's tradition, religion, the architecture, the old cities there. I mean, it's an extraordinary place. Why anyone would want to bomb it is beyond, beyond my comprehension. Such an extraordinary place. Well, it gets back to a simple reality. We have to learn how to change inside ourselves. And if people would make that effort, it would affect the way they interact with other people, and it would affect the world. But, a lot of righteous people in the world, and people that know how everybody else should live, and they're willing to impose that on I mean, look what you got here with abortions and this and that, and the righteous, people in America. It's madness. It's madness falling from the sky. Everybody's right. And then you have madness. Does anyone else have a question? All I ask you is everyone in Israel, stay safe. Everyone in the Gaza, try and stay safe. Everyone in the midst of all that's going on, just be conscious and take care of yourselves.
Stuart, I have one question. I was wondering if you could talk about patience on the journey of the practice.
Talk about what?
Patience on
Patience.
the journey of the practice, how to
Look,
maintain.
if you start doing work deep inside yourself, you have to have patience because you're up against the single most difficult person in the world to manage. That's yourself. And it takes time, it takes work, it takes patience. You have to be able to master a very difficult craft, which is the use of the mind and the breath to develop a chakra system that enables you to quiet all your internal chaos. And if you don't have patience, and if you don't have a deep need for spiritual life, it's never going to happen. Not going to happen. So patience is really one of the keys. And when you do deep inner work, you discover that you have to have patience. You have no choice in the matter. Because it's always 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's the way it works. But through patience, you realize you're always 1 step ahead in moving forward towards becoming one with God, one with higher energy. And patience is one of the keys. Without it, you'll never get there. Human beings are too complex for them not to have patience with themselves. And especially when you try to work inside to simplify all that, to quiet all that, to open all that, to get your heart open, to, mind quiet. Too easy to get angry at your inability to do things. Much more difficult to have patience because you know it's going to take time. But, in investing that time, you will come to amazing rewards. It's just nothing else than living without all the internal chaos. And patience is something you learn. You learn if you really want to get there, you have to have patience. I mean, I remember my daughter, I used to take her from Woodstock into New York, be riding in a train, and every 10 minutes, Daddy, when are we going to be there? And I finally got tired of it. And I said, Ania, we will be there when we get there. And this is basically the same thing. When will I be enlightened? You'll be enlightened when you get there. Have patience and continue doing your work. Does anyone else have a question?
Stuart?
Yes, or
I will just thank you for that answer you gave us now. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
no, 2 steps forward always comes with 1 step back, not 2 steps back, 1 step back.
I
So
needed
still
to
a
hear
step
that.
forward.
I needed to hear that.
This is just the way
thank
it works.
you.
And then you have to have patience and understand. Instead of getting upset at yourself because you're 1 step back, you say, okay, I'm ahead of the game, and then you keep moving forward. That
I was mad at myself and I was angry and disappointed of myself.
well, Flora, stop laughing at yourself. Okay. Start having some fun with yourself. I'm not disappointed in you. Don't be disappointed with you, okay? I remember Flora when she first started. I got, oh my God, this is going to be a job. And you've come a long way. So don't be disappointed with yourself.
I'm so grateful I met you and I'm with you.
Not only you, but your son Skender too has come a long way, and he's changed a great deal just in the last few months. Really has changed.
I'm so glad.
God bless both of you, you know?
I'm full of light now. It's a very nice feeling.
Does anyone else have a question? Okay, if there are no more questions, there'll be meditation on Thursday. Everybody again in Israel and wherever, stay safe and be conscious. And God bless you all for being here, for being part of my life, and for teaching me. I really mean it. I come here to learn, and I am learning a great deal. So bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.